the Six Nations really came alive this weekend.
But the way England played, I mean, if they played like that every time and lost, I wouldn't care.
Maybe we're realising that you get rewarded for playing. You get rewarded for keeping the ball in hand.
Can England handle France up front? I mean, the pack weighs almost a ton.
Yeah. You see George Martin against Mani Miafu, holy smokes, they're going to kill each other.
Hello Dream Team, welcome along to this week's episode of The Good, The Bad and The Rugby in partnership with our very good friends at Continental Tires. What a weekend. My God, the Six Nations. We scream and we shout and we laugh and we love and we moan and we grumble and gripe, but do not go changing. How much did we enjoy everything that round four?
It was delightful. Do you know what? I had quite a few friends. I know, shocking that I've got any friends, but I had quite a few more colleagues come to the game.
You paid all of them to be there.
I did pay all of them to be there. And I honestly, truthfully, was sort of joking and quipping beforehand when I was working in the hospitality, where people asked me what's going to happen. And I was like, I know they're going to beat us, I think, quite convincingly. So it goes to show what I know, which is absolutely nothing, but everyone knows that anyway.
I don't think you were alone in that viewpoint, let's be fair.
But I did. Not that I doubted that England have the ability. That's never the question. I think it was the translation from obviously how hard they would have been training and the game plan they would have had onto the field. And so it was just a magical day. I think we were very close towards the end of throwing it away, actually. And there were kind of moments give and take. But the way England played, I mean, if they played like that every time and lost, I wouldn't care, because I think it completely captured the imagination of the crowd. They were singing, which is a rarity. I haven't heard them sing like that for ages at Twickenham, and 60 minutes they were in fine voice. I think it was a fantastic game. I absolutely enjoyed it. And do you know what? The atmosphere, the interview we did post-match with Tommy Freeman,
George Martin and Theo Dan. Yeah, they got a standing ovation as they walked in. And we've done a lot of those without that.
I think we've got to be realistic, but that's the beauty of sport. We sat there before the game, and one caveat we said to all of this was, form going into a game is almost irrelevant, because you never know what's going to happen. That's why we're so addicted to sport. That's why we love it, because there is always a chance. And I think the way they acquitted themselves was amazing. So I had a very, very good day, and I honestly laid on an amazing experience for my friends, because England won. So I'm now flavour of the month.
Yeah. We'll come back to that. Welcome Ben and welcome Tins. We should say
Hello.
that. Do you want to dive in?
Oh no, I thought it was the biggest question that we said on the shows previously after Scotland. I think we were one of the. We defended England way more than anyone else did in terms of their intent and how they went to play. And the biggest question about going into this Ireland game was he going to stick with that team? Obviously, there were a couple of changes, but consistency mainly throughout. And then was he going to allow them to play an attacking brand and go after them? And I think Ollie Lawrence, as his try from when Freeman gets the ball and just goes for it into midfield and then creates the space, because he's absolutely gunned it. He's not thought about it. He goes, that's what I'm doing. And then great hands on the edge to pick it off. You're like, okay. And then, so it's a big shout out to Borthers here, because I know, his post match was very Borthers and very straight down the line, and in no way smug, because that's not the guy he is. He's just a complete professional in terms of everything he does, and he doesn't change whether he wins or whether he loses. But people have talked about whether he's got the ability to change, whether it's all stat based, whether it's everything else. This is what I would say is his first actual his squad, where he's not inherited something every year, rushing into a World Cup, and I think if that's how. I didn't enjoy the first two games. We talked about that in terms of intent and how we went to play, but the last two games, hopefully, we kicked less than the other oppositions in both of those games. And Scotland, you could have said we should have won and we threw that away, but we got it right. We got it right this time.
Welcome to you.
Thank you.
We're all very overexcited, and it's been a long time coming between drinks as far as England former players and fans are concerned. From a neutral's perspective, what did you make of Twickenham?
I thought the Six Nations came alive, and I think it's brilliant for all. The amount of times I heard you not moan but actually be frustrated by the lack of atmosphere at Twickenham, and it was a fortress of international rugby, and you heard the raw and you heard the support. Of course they replicate what's being done on the pitch, so it goes both ways, but man, they really served it on the silver platter, and I think that's what everybody loves to do. And if you're a neutral, you just want those incredible fortresses of international rugby to be there and to be totally alive. Nobody likes to see an Olympic stadium in Rome half empty,
no.
And in a dull game. It was ramped packed. It was, Gonzalo Quesada leading the way, and then you don't know what they can do. Also, of course, because it's not France, but if I had Ireland won, it would have been, a walkover to win the Six Nations. Are they going to make the Grand Slam or not? Now, everything's back on the table for that final, the Super Saturday, and that's what everybody wants. So, as a neutral, I was delighted. I was happy. I was proud of my Six Nations because it met the expectations of how much I love this competition. Irrespectively of who won and lost, I thought the boys, all of them, gave it all, produced some really quality rugby, and the stands just replicated it.
Well, when you say everything's back on the table, Ireland have got 95% of this game. But it would be amazing. My best permutation of how England could possibly win this trophy is the fact they can win by 4 points. By scoring 4 points, but they then have to score 84 points. Imagine how many drop goals that is. Yeah, just every time you're in front, that's
a DVD production. That's not going into the cinema.
20 drop goals and then 3 tries should just about do it. But,
you know what I was going to say? The thing that I'm most fascinated by this situation is obviously like a performance like that doesn't just happen. And it's weird because when fans and media and stuff, they then kind of talk about it in hyperbolic terms. They would have been working and training to play like that for a long period of time. And Tins' points are right, the Board has had a squad. But I think when people don't give you the respect and they question everything and they're very negative, it's the assumption that he's coaching them in a negative way and the players are trying to play in a boring way. I think they've been training to play like that for a while, but I think what was missing from the game was, for example, the ruck speed and aggression around the rucks. I thought George Martin was unbelievable all day. I thought like an absolute machine. You kept commenting what work rate he got through. That suddenly means that when you've got ruck speed down from 5 seconds at times down to 2 seconds, space suddenly appears. When you've got guys in the backfield not kicking and just running it back like Tommy Freeman did, that makes a massive difference. When you've got guys confident to offload, and because it's when you're running into heavy traffic, trying to offload, unless you're suddenly Bill Williams or one of these other guys, it's very difficult because it doesn't come naturally to a lot of English players. When Sam Underhill's in an outside channel and he knows he's got space and he's got someone outside him and he can go around the back and have the confidence because the chances of a second man getting in interfering that offload aren't there. It suddenly gets confidence. Marrow, the ability to turn and quickly pop because he knows he's in space. All of these things, a bit more time, a bit more energy, come to fruition. And I think it's very important to remember and actually give credit that they've been working on this for quite a while. But the nuts and bolts of the game, off the floor, kick chase, physicality in defence, physicality in ruck, intention in the carry, fight in the carry, being in motion. All of that was poles apart. And then suddenly everyone goes, wow, what an amazing game plan. I think there's a lot of players that suddenly stood up and would derive a lot of confidence to that. I thought, like I said, Tommy Freeman, Alex Mitchell at 9 looked very comfortable there. Ben Earl. What, like, talismanic performance. Yeah. But again, when he was under Eddie, maybe it wasn't necessarily the right time. Maybe he couldn't put the consistency. But he now looks like a very established back row player. If you were picking the Lions team, you'd probably put him in.
Because we are talking detail around the England players, let's stick in our Highflyer of the Week segment, which is obviously brought to you by our very good friends at British Airways. We always ask you now, the fans, to pick your British Airways Highflyer of the Week via our Instagram. The shortlist was made up of Ben Earl, George Martin and Ollie Lawrence. Ben Earl obviously everywhere. Martin, as you said, hit absolutely everything all day long, and Ollie Lawrence with a try, 100% success rate and 13 tackles in that area. For you?
I think it's got to be Ben Earl. I actually thought if Ben Earl hadn't obviously had such an amazing performance with ball in hand, I thought George Martin could have won it because just
certainly
sheer
quite bashed up post match.
Yeah, we interviewed him in that live room, and I, like all the other boys were sort of sipping mineral water, and he was like, "Yeah, I love a Guinness." Yeah, and he was like, but he's just, I don't really know him that well, but he's just got a real warmth. I see his relationship with Ellis as well is really close, and actually, what was, just as an aside, it was interesting that when we came in, every single one mentioned what impact Ellis had behind the scenes. One of them said, the way he was talking in the warm-up, the way he spoke on the field, the way he was kind of screaming in the change room pre-game. We know about it, but I think what he's doing in that England squad, I think he's probably the most valuable player in that squad in terms of emotional motivation and setting things up. But I'd say Ben Earl for me.
You would put your chips behind?
Personally, Ben Earl by a mile, I think. But it's also for the consistency at which he's been doing this forever. And when everybody clicks behind, Hask talked about confidence. It also comes by knowing that there's this guy who's going to take the ball and relentlessly go back at it and give you some meters. So I thought he was extremely impressive, to be fair.
I mean, Ben Earl's been my boy for a little while now, and he did it again.
You'll be very surprised to hear that Ben Earl was the Highflyer of the week. Unsurprisingly, he was man of the match as well. And just a reminder, British Airways are connecting people to over 190 destinations across the world. To feel inspired for your next adventure, head over to ba.com. Are England fans getting too overexcited here? Or when you look at that performance, coupled with the momentum that potentially is picking up speed, is this the sort of win that sends a new team on its way?
On verra. We shall see.
Right.
Next Saturday in
Get
Lyon.
off the fence. Are you sitting here laughing at England fans?
I agree with everything that's been said, and I think it's been a long time coming. What I genuinely enjoy is that when things get a little bit unexplainable, weak teams with weak leaders tend to hide behind the coach. And you hear the only person that you hear is the coach. What did you hear of Steve Borthwick this week? Absolutely nothing. After the game, absolutely nothing. And you're talking about, Ellis Genji influence. You're talking about George Martin, how he stood up. You're talking about Ben Earl, I think, who had some really strong words about, how much he cared about Danny Kerv's 100th, and unfortunately what happened to Jamie George's mom, and all those things. And I think that's players stepping up. So I'm not saying you only need to be in front of a mic to win games, but it does count. I think it counts in the attitude and what they're ready to deliver. So it's been a long time coming, and they really wanted to snatch that one and savor it altogether. Now, I'm not saying this in a threatening way, but yes, they will have to back it up Saturday night, and France will have everything to lose a lot more than them. So you will see whether they back it up. But I think you should get excited. That's what I'm trying to say. You should get behind your team and be overwhelmed by the happiness of what happened on Saturday. So that next time the England steps up to Twickenham, you have people roaring and ready to go again. And it might work or not, but at least you're going to give it your absolute best.
I want to bring in our Continental Tires question of the week from Knick-Knack99, who says, England have come so far in 4 games, it begs the question, why did they not play like this at the Rugby World Cup, and what would have happened if they had?
No, you can't.
You can't
think like that.
Yeah, you're shaking your head because
I don't think you play the same way. I think England got to the World Cup with confidence zero, and the idea was not looking like fools. They didn't want to lose. So you play a restrictive game. They just want to get to the quarters. Let's face it. The idea was like, let's not be the idiots not to get knocked out before. Get to the quarters, and then a whole different competition arrives.
Okay.
You talk about, for me, one of the instrumental changes is Freeman. He's a unit, he plays ball in hand, and he delivers what Borthwick saw with him at Saints, and he's delivering on the international stage. Had he been picked for England in the World Cup, I don't know if he would do the same thing. Irrespectively of whether he got the ball or not, there's a tremendous amount of pressure that's added to that. I don't think in a World Cup you don't build, you deliver. Right. In the Six Nations, don't get me wrong, the stakes are really high. Yeah. You always want to win, etc., etc. But it's okay to say we are building a new team.
And also, it takes players on the field to make decisions. I thought Furbank, I thought he's fantastic for Northampton. He's a great bloke. A couple of times I've seen him play for England. I didn't necessarily know whether he was going to be the answer. I thought he played brilliantly on the weekend. I think he added another attacking dimension. We love Freddie Student. I think he's equally a great player. I think, unfortunately, they're different players and different tools for different jobs. But I thought he was a really nice introduction to the side. Now, would you have done that in a World Cup? Would you want someone who has the ability to play but has a bit of looseness about him playing the World Cup? No, because that's how you don't get out of pool stages.
In the semi-final against Africa, you definitely wanted Freddie Stewart.
Yeah.
So it's just, you can't compare. It's just different moments.
You've answered it very well indeed. That was our Continental Tires question of the week, and Knick-Knack's been well and truly served and sent homeward to think again. Couple of other bits and bobs. Can we give a nod to not only Danny Kerr's 100th, but also one of the most wholesome moments? Did you see the post-match afterwards where he had the entire family, every single one of them on a microphone? I think you were at the bar getting the Guinness in.
I did see
it. Just a nod on the century.
I messaged him straight after the game. He's not had what you'd say the smoothest run to the 100. He's had fallings out. He's come back in. He's come back out. But yet, he's just class. And I think a lot of that comes down to who he is as a person. I think he's just an incredibly relaxed man who's good to be around, good fun. He's tied over that really the professional era as it is now, but with a personality, enjoys having fun and makes himself really sort of accessible to people, and that's why so many people like him, and he's still electric, and well done to him, because I do love him, I very dearly, he's still one of those last few that are remaining then that I was still playing, and he's just a great human being and thoroughly deserved it.
Can we talk about the Twickenham fact as well? Because, and I'd be interested in your view on this, there's been so much noise around the team connecting with the fans and the longer walk in and the open training sessions and the selfie sessions and more social media followers and all that sort of thing. What Saturday seemed to show was that get on the pitch and batter a team in front of you and all of that takes care of itself. Is that sort of the truth that's fallen out of this game?
Well, look, I don't think that people don't go blindfolded to watch a rugby game, man. They like what and they react to what they see. Now, however, everything that you said, I think, is useful. You got to see guys stepping up in front of mice. You got to see them in real life. You got to connect with the fans. That's more like long term. Short term, you want to solve this. You want to get. I still remember. I don't want to rub it in, but when we dominated England 2 seasons ago, 72nd minute, there's not a sound in the stadium. Like you would hear. Flies fly.
Was this last year? It was the record home defeat. It was 12 months ago. Amazing how long a year can be.
People react to what they see, but then in the long run, you want to feed that connection with the fans by everything that you just said.
I think we have to owe a thank you to certain Irish players, whether it be Jamie Heaslip, whether it be Peter Stringer. An English fan still gets fucked off when they hear the team's not going to win and they're going to get smashed and they're going to lose by 50, or they can only win when there's 13 men on the field. And I think when I was watching it with Rob Henderson, former Ireland centre, and we were out there for the anthems and England sang the anthem and he just turned around and went, ooh, that was louder than I thought it was going to be. Makes me a bit nervous. And then the players responded in the best way is to blast out of the doors, and then suddenly your crowd's in it.
Yeah.
And there was never. Yes, I know Ireland sort of pulled back, but it wasn't for long enough to dampen hearts. Immediately we'd come back, and then the fight was on. Yeah. And the boys stuck with it and got what they deserved.
I also think we encourage sports people, and especially rugby, to have personalities. I've got no problem with Ronan O'Gara, Jamie Heaslip, or Peter Stringer saying any of that. It's so good for the game, and everyone, and the problem is when people say things like that, put their head above the parapet and set a stall out and say things, we're now chastising them. I'd say, lads, who give a shit? Like you put yourself out there. You had an opinion. It didn't pay off on this particular occasion. Keep doing more of it. Because every time there's a fight, MMA or boxing, they trash talk. If they get filled in.
They just go, sorry, got filled in.
Got filled in. Like, that's it. So I think we've got to make sure as a sport, because everyone was so adamant, what are you thinking now, Jay Heaslip? What are you thinking now, Peter Stringer? It's like,
you've got to take it both ways.
You've got to take it both ways. Put something out there. Say it. I think we need more of that. Like, I honestly, if you'd asked me, I'd walk around and I went, we're going to get fucking pumped. And people were like, what are you talking about?
I got hated by Ireland for years, and then now I get hated myself.
It's amazing. It's easy for you to put the drawbridge up there, man. High five look after you. It's not so good when I'm in there like that. But
never works when you're coming around, though, unfortunately.
I'll find a way. But no, I just think that's great for the sport. I love it. A bit more trash talking, a bit more hype, a bit more put your balls on the line. And then listen, if you get snipped off, that's what happens. Fuck around, find out.
Do you know, I think that feeds into something, and I'd be very interested in your perspective on this, Ben, given that you were in studio. When you look at the weekend as a whole, one of the reasons I think it was sort of really enjoyable is it felt like there were 3 directives. One is the TMO to use his microphone far less. He didn't really get involved in any of the games. We had no red cards. We had no lengthy stoppages. 2 was the referees really getting their foot on the accelerator. There was a very interesting line from Luke Pearce in the Wales-France game, which I'm sure you heard, where one of the scrums went down. He said, guys, I want a really quick reset. Get on with it. No mucking around. The third one was television coverage. I thought there was a little bit less sensationalism. They didn't go looking. I mean, everyone will have now seen the Ellis-Tyg Furlong incident on social media, but it just felt like the TV coverage pulled back ever so slightly, and it just felt like everything went faster. Everything was about letting the players get on with it, and let's just enjoy what we got on the pitch rather than trying to make more of it. Did you get any sense of that in the coverage that you were part of?
I agree with the conclusion. I disagree that it's not thanks to the ref that the boys went faster. It's because the boys wanted to go faster. I think everybody got in with a lot of intent. I think all teams, for some reason, stars aligned because it's Stadio Olimpico and it's full, and they had a bit of taste of blood drawing against France, and they felt that they could have done a little bit better. And then they see Scotland coming up. It's our day. I think England have been bubbling up for a while, and you wait until we get this final performance. Everybody really aligning together and following Ben Earl with a bit of extra spice adding during the week. I mean, you want to use those quotes and stuff. Look, now let's front up. We've got a challenge ahead of us. First minutes, if you hear the crowd responding to this, maybe even they heard the anthems too. You don't know how the players will react to it, and then the ref played the role, and everybody was into it. So I really do think it was down to the intent, to how much people wanted to be there, wanted to make it special, and how much the players really wanted to go in fast and quick, and probably realizing after the last World Cup where it was about give the ball away, smash people in the rucks and contest the ball in the air, maybe we're realizing that actually, maybe due to also how the refereeing decisions are going, that you get rewarded for playing. You get rewarded for keeping the ball in hand, and that's why maybe it took all the teams 4 rounds to realize it. But now that's how France got out on top in the game too.
I do think as well. We might come on to it, but just with Ireland, again, because there's never any rationale with like sport. Like you're either, especially in England, we're either in the toilet or world beaters. I think unless you get to the point where you have such a consistent winning record and you're putting teams away with like a ruthless performance. England played so much better and played amazingly well, but it was down to fine margins. Again, if there's if Ireland had backed up a couple of positives and hadn't compounded errors, because that's all it would have been, like giving a not kicking out and getting a ball, or giving a penalty away, injuries, Peter O'Mahony getting yellow card, you know what I mean? All those bits and pieces on another day, they are sort of intangibles. We didn't put away the best side in the world. Ireland are still unbelievable.
Having said that, we've always had a bit of a man crush on Andy Farrell on this pod. He was so classy post-match. And what was really interesting about it is absolute kudos to England, they deserve to win. He smiled, he said we'll be up for it next Saturday. He just owned the narrative, but I thought in some ways he just let the game, it was all part of what we're talking about. He just let the game stand for what it was. There were no complaints, there was no blaming the ref, there was no blaming players. He just was, what a test match, well done England, we'll be ready for next weekend. I thought that was really, really, really impressive. I don't know whether you...
Look, considering how classy he was, losing in the quarterfinals of the World Cup and complimenting the All Blacks, and taking on the chin after a hugely disappointing day for them, given his personal history with England, I'm absolutely not surprised. But look, you got to live up to that reputation. You got to live up to in those tough moments. And look, I genuinely think a lot of the successes of the last 4 years of Ireland are down to who he is as a person and the culture that he's put together, and he's just delivered it one more time.
Do you think as well? I think Andy's just is an amazing bloke, legend of a coach and as a person. But again, when you watch a performance like that back, you almost want your team to be awful and see really glaring errors. That was very fine margins. That was Al Pacino. Get the game. It's a game of inches.
Yeah.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. What do you turn around and say? Unless obviously if there had been a red card or some sort of contentious decision. On this particular day, it didn't go well. And I think him setting the stand, I think it's important. And I think actually, I love the fact that him and Steve Borthwick had a row, because that's Borthwick when he played.
I think it was a discussion. I don't even.
No, I know. Fine. But whatever.
I mean, again, they both just handled it brilliantly.
Yeah, fine. But whatever it was. But I like that because Borthwick when he played was an absolute trash talking nightmare, which is so out of character for this guy. But I think often I saw Owen Slot wrote a really nice or interesting article about kind of Borthwick is like Andy Farrell, but without the kind of the big speech and the bravado and the northern accent. I think you want
to the northern accent.
He's got a northern accent, but no, it's Birmingham accent, isn't it? Is that north or is it Preston?
No, Preston.
Preston, is that a Preston accent? Or anything outside the M25 is awful. But awful. No, but I think truthfully, I
look forward to getting Steve on the show.
I think you don't always have to be front of house.
Yeah.
And I think they work very well. And I think it goes to show that you can coach in two different styles. But Andy Farrell can't be. I think he'll be frustrated, but it's almost more difficult in those moments because the game there wasn't massive glaring errors, I don't think.
2 more on Twickenham and then we'll move on. And this is not at the expense of Ireland, but I reckon there are 1 or 2 England fans, when you say 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2013, 2017, 2020, when England had so much to play for and have been laughed at for many, many years about the fact they couldn't do it. Not at the expense of Ireland, but quite nice for England fans to be able to celebrate popping someone else's balloon for once.
But it's almost as good. Ireland are a masterclass at it. They've done it so many times to us. It always works. When someone writes you off, it's always nice to...
putting a party pooper on someone, we rarely do it.
Yeah.
We're normally one getting our pants pulled down. I don't think it makes the game any sweeter, but it's nice to add a little bit of spice to it. I mean, like, because you're a diehard rugby fan, that was the first thing you said. You love that, don't you? Because you've got all the past.
I've had
past
the trauma
emotion.
of watching you two balls it up so many times.
The trauma, like I don't think like that. But again, it just adds that rich tapestry. But I think for fans, you then go, does that make next time we play them richer and more of a narrative and more fun? Yeah, of course. Do you know what I mean?
The other thing I just quickly wanted to touch on, and this may again just be me going off on a tangent, but winning it with a last-minute drop goal, the last play drop goal, it's sort of like football, because in football you celebrate once, twice, maybe 3 times a game, and so the rush of that celebration is so much greater, whereas in rugby you will celebrate 10, 15, 20, 30 scores. I just say it because my son watched it with mates. They were as animated off the back of that as I think I've ever seen them watching rugby. And it just sort of made me think that dopamine hit takes you up, which is why I think, for enough, 03 will live so long in the memory, is it was that last minute goal to win it, which I think takes you to a high level.
But also it's when it's in the flow of the game.
Yes.
Because unless you're the aficionado who's going, no, step back, drop goal, step back. And obviously people see drop goals as way harder as putting it on the tee and knocking it over to win the game. Because that's pretty much of a closed skill, and you've got time to do it, and you can line up.
But also, it's out of anyone else's control as well.
Marcus Smith would definitely be going, I wish I hadn't fallen over backwards.
Yeah, do you know, I did think that. Yeah.
He's going to wish I'd
Do you reckon Wilco like slap him in the face, just like that? Fucking, like that. Fucking, I told you, don't
hold
do
your
that.
form.
Yeah, you follow through. Don't lean back, you idiot.
But then because everyone knows that we'd have had the penalty, and he would have been able to. Should have knocked it over in the old-fashioned way. But it's far better that way.
Did you see it coming? Because the weird thing was, I was so fixated on Ty Burn over the ball, going, oh my god, he's still going there. Everyone's like shouting, let go, and like he's an unbelievable player. But in that heat of the moment. And then I saw that Joe Marler was in the way. I was like, oh my god, what's? And then suddenly it went out the back and kicked it. I just didn't. For my mind, I was like, why are they not milking the penalty? That's all we need. I didn't even think about it. Did you see it coming? Did you think that was an option? I just didn't even occur to me.
I think I was actually celebrating at the time that they got the penalty.
Yes.
So I knew we'd won it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I thought. It was like more of a shock. I was like, oh Christ,
I wasn't even thinking about it. Yeah, but it's, as you say, I think it is a better way of finishing, because it gets it done in real time without it having to freeze. No one's got to think about it. Or
I did think off the back of it, you don't get many chances to practice your drop goal celebrations, but it definitely wasn't the Shearer finger or Steven Gerrard kissing the camera. There was a definite sort of
fish throw the hair back.
Yeah. There were some slightly lost individuals.
All he's missing is jazz hands at the end of it. Fist pump.
I think as if I never kicked a drop goal, obviously, but when I scored ever any clutch moments, I just forget to celebrate. And my dad was like, didn't celebrate. I'd just be like so into it, you're just like walking back, next job. I should have had that fucking fist bumps, high five. People like tripping over themselves. People running up like hugging random people.
I did enjoy Coley took one to the plums. Did you see that?
Oh
no. Someone booted it so low, it went straight into his lower gut, and he just immediately took a knee.
When was this? In the game?
Yeah. So someone
had got I've written down. That's not one of them.
Someone had got a penalty. And they went to just boot it down the field. They just drilled it straight into his gut.
It was a special
Find
day.
that and we'll put it on socials.
It will live long in the memory, that one. It'll be fascinating to see where we go from here. Shall we move on to Rome? First sellout in 8 years. First home win in 10. And Luigi Lynagh, 1 from 1 with a try.
He should retire.
Really unbelievable.
Stop it there. Don't even try to do better. Write a book about it and done.
Yeah. My journey to Italy.
We bought there.
The 1 week turnaround.
Yeah. As far as Italy are concerned, and again, this is a question that's been asked many times over, but when you look at what's happening at the under-20s, where they're beginning to take chunks out of teams, and they should have beaten France, you'll admit that. Mm-hmm. Does it feel...
Feeling okay?
Now, in years gone by when Italy won, it normally felt like the other team had absolutely tied their shoelaces together and blown it, and yet it actually felt on Saturday like they beat Scotland. Do you know what I mean? In that slight difference. Yeah. Are we seeing Italy now really beginning to sort of come to the party in a way that, for years they were, and Italy, as far as the Six Nations
I'd say so, yeah. I'd say so. And Gonzalo Quesada, honestly, is the man for the job. I think it's also a matter of whenever they won. And look, I lost to Italy in Rome in 2013, but Sergio Parisse was there, Gonzalo Canale, Martin Castrogiovanni, and you're thinking, who the hell is ever going to replace that? You know, they've written a book in history, but that was it.
Yeah.
All those guys now, have a look at the age average, but they're all youngsters. They're all teeny-weeny things, and every week you see some more of them coming. And like you said, the under-20s are taking some scalps week in, week out. So it's exciting times. And I don't know why I put so much importance at it, but a packed stadium before the game, it's easy, to say once they won it.
Yeah.
But they feel in this country that something's happening. I mean, the Stadio Olimpico has been so dull and sad. When it's half empty, they don't even open the top tier because they don't even try to sell it. And they hadn't won a game in 11 years. 11 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time. But somehow
at the
they
end
knew.
of Titanic, 84 years later.
But all of a sudden they felt it. So we're not the only ones. And yes, they should have won, especially with the second half against France, that they totally dominated. First half, France should have been 30 points ahead, but we were clumsy and we didn't seize the opportunities. Second half, we were outplayed. And exactly like we said, outplayed. It wasn't an intercept last minute. And that last one, with also, Garbisi should have been given another shot at that penalty. So it made it really tough for them. But they felt that something new is coming. There's a new dynamic. The Quesada stamp is hitting those boys, giving them a bit of a fresh new faces, and they are delivering. So no, I was genuinely happy for them.
Do you think as well, because when as a player, when you're facing Italy, I think there was often a little bit of politeness because you'd always be quite confident that you were going to win. You had the Parises, you had the Castrogiovannis, you had the Bergamascos, but they were never that competitive, really. And it's sort of now when you look at the players and the way they attack and the play, there's like a real danger. And before, you'd have that kind of Latin spirit, and sometimes we had the ruck gate, and there's all these different clever ways of doing it. They are now a serious team, and I think there was all that talk about Georgia and letting Georgia in, and should we get rid of Italy? And I think, look, let's not get carried away because there's still a process, but they're a much more dangerous side now. And I think when you meet Italians, somehow I end up meeting a lot of them. You talk about it and they kind of go, "Oh yeah, we're a rugby team, but they're not that good or whatever." But I think now, if they, because they're such a football nation, they're capturing some imaginations over there because they're doing it. They're playing with spirit. They're not just playing pluckiness or disruptive. They're actually genuinely having a go, and they're looking great. Quesada's a brilliant coach, and I think for Scotland, I said it 2 weeks ago. I said, how long do you keep talking about this team as, they're going to do stuff under Townsend? I'm not saying he should be replaced, but you've got to start asking questions now. Like, what point? Because they're super talented. They've beaten England. They've got some amazing players in there.
But you're saying, when's it time for a fresh?
Yeah, because we've been at it now for ages.
You look at anything. It's quite nice to have a fresh face come in and.
But I'm not saying I don't want to call. Like I said, I don't want to call for his scout. I just asked. I've been very excited about Scotland because Scotland had a period. Do you remember they couldn't score? Patterson was the only person that scored for Scotland. Do you remember? They played games that could just kick the ball. Yeah. Then obviously Finn Russell and came in, and Dwayne on the wing. We had Hamish Watson. They've got so many good players.
Dwayne.
No. That's what they called him. That's what Warren Gatland called him. Dwayne. I do know it's Duhan van der Merwe. I'm not complete div. Well-ish. But they picked up so many different players, and they've just flattered to deceive, which I think is really frustrating because on their day they're brilliant, and again their team is full of amazing players. But at what point do you start being a bit harsh on Scotland? Because they didn't do what they should have done in the World Cup. They didn't do what they've done in the Six Nations. They haven't actually been that close to winning anything. But we know what an amazing player and coach Gregor Townsend is. We know what a good player Finn Russell is. We know how good this team is. Like,
why are they not? Why are they not finding a higher level of consistency?
I genuinely can't tell you. They got robbed, it might be a bit harsh, but they got denied the victory that was theirs against France. And I hate to admit it, but it's true. So did that impact their morale? Yes, they have some fantastic players, but I think as soon as they lose one or two, it's complicated for them. The depth is simply not there. And then mainly, they're not consistent enough. They just can't deliver those performances week in, week out. And when it's about going really deep into the emotion signs and the ticker and the passion about it, and they got out-passioned by the Italians.
Yeah. I think every nation goes through a bit where you can't find that consistency. You have a team, Scotland being the prime example of that. But there's periods in time with France through the Levermont years and all those sort of years, and England for the last 4 years, where you just can't find that consistency. There's a performance in there. I think now we're getting to an Italy team that has genuine talent throughout it from 1 to 15. Yes, they still need more, but we know there's more coming. We know how well the 21s are doing, but I feel that Italy and now the boulders started rolling down the hill, and with that you'll pick up more players along the way. Then there'll be more people playing the game, and there's more challenge for position. Then hopefully keeping the games at the high level, be more there'll be more competition that they can play in, and then that just rises, and you get used to those environments, and your ability to play at that level becomes a more constant thing, and then you're on your way.
I was going to ask, so I mean, Townsend must be the longest serving coach. That was kind of my point. Do you think, in comparison to the other guys, that he would be the longest serving coach in the Six Nations?
Apart from Gatlin coming back.
Oh yeah, but he obviously came back. But in terms of consistency with a team, that's all I'm asking, because I think we don't want to become like football. But at what point, if you're not going to unlock it now, I think every coach needs a build up. But at some point, if it's just not, you're not quite clicking. I just don't know what you.
I think what you're hinting to is that sometimes you just need a different voice. You know, when you hit the ticker and you ask for more and more from a team, it's great when it's young, when it's fresh, when it keeps on going. But then you're gonna ask for more and even more from the same voice. It's complicated. So look, that's their decision to make. Whether it's always, the grass is not always greener elsewhere. Who do you replace him with? You also have to have the right candidate to know what can he bring, something different. Look, I still think he's taken Scotland to a different dimension.
I agree. I agree.
And
like I'm not.
Now,
there's also the other side of that coin, whereas you bring someone in who completely destroys what you've got.
And I'm not advocate. It's just more. It looks from the sort of size. How long is it? Because we always talk about
worth reminding everyone, Scotland can still win the championship. And on a week-to-week basis that we're going through at the moment, I mean, we've had Borthwick out, now Borthwick's getting a knighthood. We've had King of Scotland, and now he's on the dole.
And what a difference a day makes. It's just always the way.
Love it, isn't it? Yeah. Chaos in Cardiff. I thought Max Boyce was brilliant pre-game, actually. He conducted it fantastic.
That was amazing. In terms of the lines that he dropped in. The lines about just getting hopefully Sean will get dropped, so we can have him back.
He didn't actually sing. It was a one-man show. He was just he was Hask.
Yeah, it was Hask.
Exactly. All in behind.
Probably more expensive. That's nice of you.
Yeah, less swearing.
I cannot swear. Are France back?
Look,
come on, we're on the hype train. Jump on.
I am super duper happy. Different level than what I saw on Saturday afternoon. Genuinely. I think France played well. I was super excited about seeing that new lineup, and finally the big ballsy calls that were made by Fabien Galtier. Always saying, why do you start Maxime Lucu? Because he partners up with Jalibert, and now Jalibert's not there. Nolan Le Garec is super excited.
Oh my goodness!
He's electric. He's only 21 years old.
Mate,
he's young. He made a sort of erotic pass. A backhand. She's
erratic.
Erotic.
I thought that's what you meant.
But it was also erratic because he should have been intercepted about 3 times, but he didn't, so which was brilliant. Even made it even juicier and even better. But Deporter, really excited to see him more now. He's not a 12. I think he's more of a 13. Gaël Ficou, criticized in the press, properly delivered. Damien Payno, he was running everywhere like there was no tomorrow. Really excited to see him. Meafou, look, I want to see him next week against England. You see George Martin against Mani Meafou. Holy smokes, they're going to kill each other, and they're absolutely going to go at it. They're going to line each other up. It's going to be something. And when we thought you had one ginormous titled prop with Winnie Antonio, we found another one, Jean-Jean Colombe, who's 140 kg.
Where do you reckon they found him?
Well, I didn't have to look very far.
Not far from a source of food, that's for sure, because he is one big man. So excited, but still not the same level of performance. I'm not saying, look, first, 5th division. I'm saying it would have not cut it against at Twickenham.
Well, that was you could see when you make 8 changes that you could just see the mistiming, the misfiring, and that just takes that French team is a team that flows, and it flows into the offloads, it flows into that sort of classiness together, and it was just still a bit jaggedy. But the power game, I think that was the biggest thing. They looked powerful, and
very
I think
powerful.
for this tournament so far, that little bit of everything we've talked about, power, physicality, hasn't really been there, and it was back on.
What do you think? Because I haven't been on the show with you since. What did you think France's problems were? Like, because would you have said it was selection? Because sometimes selecting different players can change a team, but
Yep.
it doesn't. They don't suddenly become a bad team overnight. What was it that
No.
wasn't? What was it? Was it the Dupont factor? What was going on?
Look, it's for more than one thing. Number one, the real disappointing team of the last World Cup is Ireland. Okay, and we realized that after round one, because we were heartbroken after South Africa, but I think we were dreaming, and I was dreaming 100% about deserving that World Cup, but we were not exactly there. Changing of coaching staff. Line-out coach changed, attack coach changed. First game against Ireland, we have 50% of decent line-out, and attack is all over the place. 8 days they have to put their stamp onto a team. You know how it is. You got 4 trainees. You roughly have 5 hours on the pitch. It's not a lot, right? So it takes time to change. Secondly, the World Cup is still hungover. Definitely. The boys are still hurt, but hurt mentally and also emotionally drained. It really got them more than anybody else because it was our World Cup. We were there to win it, and we got killed with some complicated circumstances. And I think they really hadn't gotten over it. And the third thing is, like you said, the team selection. But team selection, forget about Antoine Dupont. Injuries. 10 days before that game, you lose four starters.
Yeah.
You lose Miafou, who's been in and around of the French team for the last 18 months. When is he going to start? Has he got his passport? And couldn't make the World Cup because he had a passport, but the World Rugby asked for 5 years of residency or something. It's the rules of the World Cup, not of the French eligibility, that prevented him from getting to the World Cup.
Really? I didn't know that.
So at like 1 day or 1 week, he was too short for it. So then he finally got his passport. Thibaut Flamand dropped out 2 weeks before. Anthony Jolon did his other ACL. Romain Tamac is still not back. And Antoine Dupont decided to go somewhere else. So, look, not making excuses.
No.
We were clearly not as good as Ireland.
Sounds like you are.
Clearly not as good as Ireland. But that's what happened. And then it took a bit of time. It took some luck against Scotland. It took a proper slap in the face against Italy, and now we bounce back. So it's going.
But amazingly, still in for the championship also.
I just want to ask one. Sorry,
Yeah.
because I had, right, and I said this after the second game or when they nearly lost against Scotland or whatever. I
the
said
only
that-
man who called Italy to beat you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, but I wondered. I said to the guys, because obviously, the old cliche about France was kind of the emotion and the inflammatory nature of everything that was kind of going on. Obviously, under this coaching staff and the way the players, that's completely gone. We saw in the build-up to the World Cup that they had the mental fortitude, the ability, and the consistency. I did earmark though when the couple of games didn't go well, whether there will be some changes after France, because personality-wise, you would have seen, being a French player for such a long time, you've seen the clubs, when things go well, that's fine, but French liked a bit of a politician, they like to feel like they can grandstand. Do you think if they hadn't won against Wales and won convincingly, that there would have been some changes, or was there
100%.
pressure to make some
100%
changes?
pressure. That's the last thing that I didn't say, is that the last 4 years have been built on Bernard Laporte being French president, and finally, and his protege is Fabien Galtier. Okay, he was his captain when he was in the French team, and then when he left Stade Français, between you and I, Fabien Galtier got the job because of Bernard Laporte.
Okay.
He's always very close to Max Guazzini and all that, and so when he took the federation, he decided to say, look, the number one priority is the French team, the league, and with blood, it was complicated fights against the league, and then they finally got to this agreement. For the last 4 years, Fabien Galtier had the most resources that were ever given by a country mile to any French team coach. 42 players per week, 8 weeks consecutive during the Six Nations, no more there, here and back. I mean, it was almost like having federal contracts, but only for the period of Six Nations. Never before had he had so much. The clubs were they pull their pants down really for the benefit of the French team, because the World Cup was in France. So they make ginormous sacrifices, which honestly pay off to everyone, because the French team that shines, there's more people watching Top 14 too, right? So they finally decide to align forces. I'm not saying they were overly abused, but they like to say, right, for the benefit of the country, we will make ginormous efforts, economical, resources, whatever it is. And the moment where the pandemic hit in the middle and the clubs were shaky. Now, for the symbolic, Bernard Laporte left, got asked to leave.
Got fingers in the till,
got asked to leave. Florian Grill come, who was the one protester against everything that's done Bernard Laporte for a long time. Of course.
Okay.
So we properly changed sides, And then comes the negotiation of the agreement between the club and the federation. It did not go like the way that it was going 4 years ago.
Really?
Of
They've
course.
changed it all?
Yeah, now he has 30 players per week, and every Wednesday he needs to, or 32 players, I think, he needs to release 6, not by the Thursday, but by the Wednesday, so that I can play with their clubs. No, it's totally changed.
Really?
And after the loss against Africa, it was, we are not present enough on the international stage in the government of World Rugby. The boss of refs is a Frenchman, so I don't believe that. But so the problem of politics and the division is back on the table.
So it went from being quite civilized now
100%,
okay.
100%. So I don't know how much that influences the team. That would be honestly another excuse for the excuse box.
Yeah.
But Fabien Galtier is under pressure not to get ejected. He's under pressure to deliver like he should be, and he's not as protected as he used to be.
Very interesting. It's rugby, isn't it? Of course, we're going around the roundabout once again. Let's have a look ahead at the weekend in just a moment. I very quickly want to mark your cards with a note from our friends at NordVPN, who are back and are offering Good Bad Rugby listeners an exclusive deal. Did you know if you're abroad during the Six Nations, you can switch your virtual location to back home so you can access your streaming services to watch the game? We are actually off. All 4 of us are going to the HongOng Sevens. Talking about Antoine Dupont, I was going to say. We're going to do
He
a
won't
show.
be there. Huh? He won't be there.
Is he not going to be there?
No, he's only doing 2 tournaments. That's done. He's won it. He's gone.
Right.
Wait for the Olympics now.
Wow. God, to be that good.
Yeah.
We'll be taking NordVPN with us. What are you doing other than streaming from back home?
Well, I'll be using NordVPN quite consistently over there to follow up some TV series involved in, to give myself some cyber protections. I'm dealing with some heavy, big money deals, as I'm an international man of mystery. And then I will be DJing out there, and then we're going to Australia to work for the Australian Tourist Board to promote the decade of green and gold.
We are.
Very exciting. And then on Australia, again, I'll be using NordVPN. Why? Because I bloody love it.
Yeah. Can I just ask, you are one of the finest pundits out there. Are you actually a Sevens ambassador out at the Hong Kong Sevens for all that you've achieved in the game?
I think honestly there was
because
nobody
everyone
else.
looks at you. Everyone looks at you.
Think there was nobody else.
You had a lot of fortes in your game.
No, hang on a second.
Okay.
But you will not know that I was a ball boy in 1995 for the Hong Kong Sevens.
And that's why you've got the pull up again.
That's the link.
That's
the tedious link you get to get there as an ambassador.
In 1995 as a ball boy to get you back in Hong Kong later on?
Because
how old
I
were you back
started my
then?
rugby career in Hong Kong because I lived there for a year.
Is ball boy a metaphor for something else? That you were doing?
No, I was literally a ball boy.
Really?
Was 95 the Lomu, Cullen,
Christian Cullen, Eric Rush,
Sarevi?
Yeah.
That was one of the great-
Lièvremont brothers, Charles, Olivier Magne, Philippe Bernat-Salle for France and all that. Yeah, we won the cup, I think, or something.
Have you got a few places we can go to? Do you know a few night spots, a few places?
Yeah, I was there about 30 years ago, so I know everything. Obviously, but no, nothing. But I was.
Anything you're watching at the moment that you'll be taking with you on your NordVPN?
I'm
Emily in
not.
Paris?
No, look, keeping up with the business, keeping up with. I've got an investment business, and we've got 14 companies that we look after. So there's exciting innovation coming out on a regular basis. I got to keep up to speed.
You're so grown up. Yeah. To get the best off your NordVPN plan, go to NordVPN to get
NordVPN
to get
different
too
company.
long time with Tins. Too long time? What's happening?
Going to Hong Kong?
Shut up in your face.
Oh, that was amazing.
To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/goodbadrugby. Our link can give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan plus a bonus gift, and the link is in the podcast episode description box. Previews for the weekend, please. Pressure on Gatland? Not really, because Wales are where they are right now, but it is a massive game against Italy. Potential first wooden spoon for Wales since 2003. Do they finish with a flourish, or did the Azzurri go unbeaten in 3?
Look, I think
You're the master soothsayer.
I think it would be I think Gatland, again, if it's another coach, and the fact that the way they played against England for parts of the game, and some of the quality players, like how disruptive they can be, Tom Raffel, those guys like that, I just think it'd be too much pride to do that and lose. And I also think the pressure will be a bit on Gatland, because even though I don't think it would matter who you put in there because of where they are as a transition period, I just think he's a proud bloke. I don't know what happens after. I don't think he should go, because I don't think anyone else could do it, and I think it takes a bit of time to rebuild. But I think there's a bit of pressure on him. I just don't see Wales losing. Not that I don't think Italy aren't very capable. I just think, for me, they can't under any circumstances do that, and I think they've got the emotional ability to potentially pull it back, but it'll be very close.
The tough thing for Wales is actually, if you look at the gradient of the Six Nations for them, so close against Scotland, extraordinary comeback, coulda, woulda, shoulda won at Twickenham. Ireland obviously very professional. then France, who put up 45, it's not going in the right direction for them. How do they jack that back up into something where everyone gets in behind what they're trying to do, and very quickly?
It was a complicated. I was in the studio with Sam Warburton. He was like, "Look, we just need more muscle. We need more physicality, and you can't just pick it up with the player squad that they have at the moment. So they need Jack Morgan to come back. They need some big fellas to come back. They need to find new players in 6 months. Unfortunately, for this one, and I've got nothing against Wales. I'm very worried about them because I reckon Italy will go there and like, look, we've already made something good. Now they can have the best Six Nations ever if they win there." And I think Gonzalo Quesada is still hungry, and these boys will be hungry. They're not as physical and as powerful as France, so they will offer a different threat. I do think Wales will stand up, yes, but I reckon Italy will go there with some serious and validated intentions.
Any hope for Scotland in Dublin, or is this Ireland's silverware?
Yeah, I don't think they can go over there. I think Ireland are normally their bogey team anyway. They seem to have them wrapped around their fingers, so I think it'd be a big shock if they did go over there. Yeah, will they? Obviously, could they bounce back emotionally for one game after what they went through on the weekend? I think they will feel that they owe Gregor it, they owe their fans it, but also Ireland are in the same boat, and at home at the Aviva, I'm not sure you can go there and win. But I still think Scotland on their day can pull out a performance that can beat them, but whether it'll be this weekend, I wouldn't have thought so.
Tim's exactly right. The 100% can Scotland beat Ireland? Yes, because we know they've got that X factor. I just think if you look at any good consistent side, All Blacks used to be like it. You lose, and then how quickly you turned it around. This, I think, will be a good learning thing for Andy Farrell. Nobody wants to lose, but I think it'll be interesting again, like after the World Cup, how they bounce back from this win and how they consistently do it. And actually, I'd say Ireland will be more dangerous because you're going to learn far more from the loss, like the old cliche goes. And actually, they didn't play that badly, but there would have been some real game management bits, some individual player errors, and to see how they can upgrade their game. And I think it'll be an interesting work week. And Andy Farrell's a master of kind of keeping morale. So I think they need to cement themselves, bounce straight back this week, and business as usual and carry on.
The bookies have France favourite by 8.
Wow.
Ireland by 15, and then Wales by 8.5.
Really? I'd say that's big on Wales.
Yeah. So I would say 2 of those. I'd take England plus 8. I'd take Italy plus 8.5.
Yeah.
And then you're taking a call on Scotland. But I don't. If Scotland play a semi-decent game, I'm not necessarily say that Ireland are definitely 15 points better.
How confident are you in Lyon for France?
Excited, confident, not so much, because again this performance was great. I can't wait to see the youngsters again have another opportunity, but it's going to be a serious England team that are going to come up. Probably they're going to be remembering that 53-10 in Twickenham. They're going to remember all those crap years where they got bashed, and they're going to still be hungry. I think one thing that worries me is the 6-day turnaround. It will be a little bit more tough physically because they properly drained out of them the win in Wales. But no, just excited to see a quality game. Unfortunately, we will know how the other games will have unraveled before, so there will be zero stress around it, I think, unfortunately, because I agree, I see Ireland putting away Scotland. But irrespectively, an important game to finish off the Six Nations with the new coaching squad. Can't wait to see the young fellas again.
Can we see another step forward from this England team?
Do you know what? I think, of course, we can. I think, again, unfortunately, there is no magic recipe to deliver a performance like that again. I think it'll be very difficult to do that against France, because I think they're a quality outfit. I think for all the reasons Ben said, and I wanted to pick it as to why they were changing, because obviously we'd only heard about the sort of Dupont. That was the kind of thing that everyone was saying, but actually, all the changes behind the scenes. I think actually winning breeds winning. And I think that the setup this week in England will be very different. I think it has kind of cemented a few places. I think there'll be a lot of fun. I think there'll be a lot of hard work. I think there'll be a lot of respect for a French side, because if you take them lightly, it can be a very difficult afternoon. And unlike any other side in the Six Nations, the X factor of the individual players is, I think, higher than anyone. And I've always thought that with French. I think French players consistently have always been better as individuals. They just haven't always played that well as a team. We've seen that with this French team, that they can do that. I just think England could be on a bit of a roll. I think they can actually breathe a sigh of relief. I think the newspapers and the media will be way different than they've expected, because everyone's now jumping on the bandwagon. I personally think if France lose in a bad way, the pressure comes back on. There's already question marks over certain people, and I don't know how long they can keep that coaching side together without being forced by people to make changes. So it's a very interesting story. I'll go with England, but I don't know by how many.
Okay. Tweaks, changes, same team, same plan.
Well, I think arriving at this game, if you look at France, the physicality that they had on the weekend, so it's still going to be that physical battle that they talked about before Ireland. I think England...
Can England handle France up front? I mean, the pack weighs almost a ton.
Yeah. 973.
Yeah, 973. But I think from England's point of view, if they'd have lost on the weekend, and we've talked about this, is performance over result. If England go out and play the same way and maybe fall on the other side of it, I think it's going to be a good game, and hopefully, the Six Nations really came alive this weekend. A few of the first 3 weekends have been some, a lot of mistakes. That World Cup hangover has hit every team really, whereas it really kick-started. So I just hope that we get that. It's a shame that Ireland aren't playing last, so it'd go all the way up to.
Yeah.
It'll go all the way up to that last game, but I think England can go over there and get in amongst them. Can they deal with the pressure that's coming off that England defensive, and how much will that allow England to get into the game? I want to see a bit of chaos, which was in that French-Wales game. It was chaotic, and it was great to watch, and hopefully we'll get some games like that.
Let's hope this year's Six Nations finishes with a flourish. Before we go, what we've got to finish off is our Heycar Six Nations selector, where we delve into the past and try to pick the greatest players to have played in the Six Nations. Heycar, as you will know by now, have only the best quality checked used vehicles. You can buy directly online or in person through one of their trusted retailers. They even have vehicles that you will not be able to find or buy anywhere else. And like our relationship with Heycar, this game is all about great partnerships, so our picks have to be made in units. The last to slot into place is the second row, and it has to be from Scotland.
Makes it very easy.
Yeah, it's a very quick game.
Because we have picked from the other 5 nations. So our team so far is up front Lecicero, Giraldini, Castrogiovanni. In the back row, Hill, back Delalio. Dupont and Untamak are our half-backs. Darcy and O'Driscoll's in the centres. North, Cuthbert and Halfpenny as our back 3. So here's what you could have won as second-row partnerships. Itoje and Cruz, who've won 2 championships. Johnson and Kay with the Grand Slam in 2003 from England. Ireland obviously had O'Connell and O'Callaghan, who were the Grand Slammers of 2009 and had 23 Six Nations starts together. Alan Wynne of Wales won with Ian Goff in 2008, a Grand Slam. Ian Evans in 2012 and 2013. Adam Beard in 2019. And 2021 as well. That's a lot of activity for the great man. In France, Fabien Pelouse and Pascal Papé, 2004 Grand Slam, and Woki and Willemse in 2022. And just for reference, Canone and Rutzer, who are making a name for themselves in this current Italian team. But the 2 options we've got, we're bending the rules at the last. It's very unlike us. Johnny Gray and Richie Gray, a lot of energy. Johnny is a Champions Cup winner, which isn't terribly relevant to the Six Nations. Richie was a British and Irish Lion.
Oh, well.
And our curveball, I know it's Six Nations only, but we're actually going to throw in Scott Murray and Stuart Grimes, who won the 1999 Five Nations. So it has an asterisk next to it.
On the back of Scott Gibbs' try.
Yes.
Apparently, hold on, you've missed a bit before this year's tournament. Opta Johnny tweeted that Scott Murray had the most line-out takes, 223, and steals 54 of any player in Six Nations history. So
Pedigree.
I played with Scott Murray in Castres, and he's a hilarious player who can sing Vanilla Ice, Ice, Ice,
Oh,
Baby.
we've got one
That
of them.
song.
We've got one of them.
Comes out every 10 minutes.
Almost as good as Tins.
Yeah.
Almost as good. And he was a brilliant teammate. So I would
Are
my
we,
vote.
we're picking on rapping
Well,
ability rather
and
than
obviously
up
I'm
front.
going ear on that.
Yeah.
Anyone
Hold on,
can do
you've
that.
got, we straight with the barrel. It's like Johnny Gray once had a chicken take. Once had a takeaway. Richie Gray saved someone from a burning house, so that's great.
Does it always sound the same when it gets to Scotland?
Stuart
We're
Grimes
scraping the
always
barrel.
Stuart Grimes always makes sure his car's MOT'd. So Scott,
I
Scott
tell you
Murray.
what, I hope we've got a bigger climax to this year's
Scott
Six
Murray.
Nations.
Scott Murray wears great trousers. So that's yeah.
It now feels like the back 3 should have been Hogg,
Van der Merwe
Yeah.
and
Darcy Graham.
This is what happens when I'm not involved.
We're not going back now.
No,
we
we're
haven't got time.
Well, Scott Murray and Stuart Grimes.
They did play in the
They
Six
did play
Nations.
in
I'm
the
told.
Six Nations.
They won it in 99. They did play in the
They
Six
definitely
Nations.
did play. I definitely played against both
And
of
on
them. Played
that
together.
basis alone, it's
Yeah.
congratulations. They'll be absolutely delighted with their nomination.
But Johnny and Richie Gray, we do love you.
We do love him,
love the brothers.
but Johnny Gray doesn't use responsibly sourced shampoo, so we can't allow him to be part of the. It was tested on animals, which was the final decider into losing out.
As as a result of Johnny Gray's shampoo selection, it's Scott Murray and Stuart Grimes who complete our Heycar Six Nations dream team. I tell you what, it's been a hell of a roller coaster over the last 5 weeks, and it really does finish on.
Do you think people are going to read through it and go,
yeah.
Second row? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Because they won't understand the rules, because nobody, when Alex tried to explain the game on the first thing, everyone switched off. So nobody understands that you can only pick it from
I
one.
basically played it on my own with you just getting in the way. With
all I wanted was Hill back
responsibly
to
sourced
Lynagh. That's all I wanted.
I know, you made a big case of that. Well done, Scott Murray and Stuart Grimes. That completes our Heycar Six Nations dream team. Selecting a car from Heycar is a much easier process than we've just been through. They only have the best quality check used vehicles, and you can buy directly online or in person through one of their trusted retailers. Buy your next car the feel-good way with Heycar. Just before we go this week, one very special bottle of Black Eye that we need to stick in the post as well.
Yeah, I thought it was quite emotional at the Wales France game. Craig Maxwell, former commercial manager for the WRU and the Six Nations, two unions we do a lot of stuff with, diagnosed with inoperable lung cancer, and it was on the walk. He walked all the coastal paths of Wales, raising money, and he delivered the match ball. And I watched them walk out, and you could see his wife going, "Oh my God!" Walking into that cauldron, and I thought it was quite a spine-tingling and special moment. So
absolutely,
he gets
and
that Black Eye.
People want to donate, at Maxwell Genomics Fund is the place to head as well. And obviously, Craig, the very, very best from all of us. An amazingly inspirational effort that you've put together, and hopefully you get the full support of all the rugby fans in your challenge right now. Finally, be part of the Good, the Scaz and the Rugby's exclusive pre-match event, which is gearing up for Wales against Scotland at round 1 of the Women's Six Nations. That is at the Walkabout in Cardiff. Doors will open at 2 o'clock on Saturday, the 23rd of March. If you'd like to be there, head to eventbrite.com to get your tickets. Great to see the girls out on the road ahead of what should be another fantastic Women's Six Nations. That is coming up shortly. The winner of the Six Nations in 2024 will be...
Ireland.
Oh, said with a resignation. Let's hope we have a finale to the Six Nations, which we all enjoy, wherever you are watching this weekend. And also, just to finish by saying all the very best to those teams in the finals of the Continental Tires Schools Cup. We are at Twickenham on Thursday. It'll be a brilliant day out, and may the best teams win. That is it from us for this week. We are the Good, the Bad and the Rugby, in partnership with Continental Tires. Thank you very much indeed to the guys. We're a Folding Pocket production. This episode is produced by Tom Edwards, and we'll see you next week to sift through all the final round of the Guinness Men's Six Nations. See you then. But from all of us, bye for now.
Au revoir.